This week's show, When Your Health Matters, the show designed to empower you to better health through knowledge and education. And I'm your host, Dr. Richard Huntoon from Advanced Alternative Medicine Center. We're located at 138 Canal Street in Pooler Park. That is in Pooler, Georgia. We're in Suite 404 of Building 400. So if you want to come see me, that's where we're located. If you want to call me ahead of time, you can call me at area code 845-561-2225. Again, 845-561-2225. That is my cell phone, my personal cell phone. It does not have the ability to receive text, so please don't text it because I'll never get back to you. But if you want to use that technology of texting, you can text me at my email at docrick@spineboy.com. That's DOCRICK@spineboy.com. And it would be my pleasure to help you to better understanding with the concerns that you have regarding your health. Our health is our most important asset. We have not really been taught how to take care of our health. That's really the purpose of these classes. We've moved to video because of COVID-19. People haven't been coming to class, so I thought I would offer the opportunity for you to watch the class from your privacy and safety of your own home. Today's class, we want to talk about how much water do we need and why do we need that much water. And it's important to understand that water is your second most important asset, oxygen being the most important. We can't go very long without oxygen. Assuming that you have enough oxygen and you're not carrying around an oxygen producing machine that Medicare will pay for, and you're actually breathing because you can do that all on your own, that's wonderful. If you have issues, by all means, give me a call and I'll teach you how to get off of that machine, recover your ability to breathe normally. But water is the second most important ingredient that the body needs. And over the years, everybody asked me, well, Dr. Rick, how much water does a body need? Well, it depends upon how much you weigh. We've all been told the basic formula is that you need 8-ounce glasses or 64 ounces of water a day. 8 times 8 is 64. And so that's actually a good amount of water for somebody that weighs, get this, 100 pounds. How many of you watching this by a show of hands, not that I can see you, but by a show of hands weighs 100 pounds? Pretty sure all of us weigh more than 100 pounds. So you need 8-ounce glasses if you weigh 100 pounds. Now if you weigh 150 pounds, you need 3/4 of a gallon of water every day. And if you weigh 200 pounds, good for you, God bless you, you need a whole gallon of water every day. And if you're above 200 pounds, you're going to need more than a gallon of water every day. And people's initial response to that is, Dr. Rick, I can't drink that much water because if I do, I'm going to be going to the bathroom all day. That is correct initially. But as you continue to give your body a consistent amount of water, your body is going to adjust to the new consistency. Your body is going to become more efficient. Your metabolism is going to become more efficient. You may actually lose some weight just simply by being properly hydrated. I can't emphasize that enough. We all need to be properly hydrated. Now, your body's 70% water, somewhat like the rest of the world. But guess what? There's a part of your body that is actually more than 70% water. And that would be your brain. So when you don't get enough water in your diet on a regular basis, on a daily basis, the first place that's going to suffer is your brain. Now your brain regulates every function, every system, every organ, every gland, every cell within your body. And if your brain can't regulate that properly, then you're going to start to have health issues. Now the number one health issue that typically brings a person to the doctor, believe it or not, it's not a pain. It's not full-out blown disease. It's actually fatigue. Not having the energy that you would like to have. Not feeling the energy that you think you should feel. It's the number one symptom that brings people to the medical doctor, brings people to any doctor for that matter. And the medical doctors they'll slough it off to something, well, it's normal for somebody your age. You are getting older. And that's a bunch of poppycock. Okay, I have some senior patients who drink enough water who don't have any issues with fatigue. Okay, so fatigue being the number one symptom that brings a person into the doctor. What's the first thing that happens when you go into a hospital? If you get admitted to a hospital, the first thing they do is they hook you up to fluids. They hook you up to an IV and they give you fluids. Why do they do that? Because they know just by you being there, you are dehydrated. Now I call that functional dehydration. You're still able to function, but you don't have enough water to function efficiently, to function the way that your body was meant to function. And so you become functionally dehydrated. And that's the biggest problem that people have, which ultimately leads to fatigue. Okay, so we've talked about the amount of water that you need to drink. We've talked about the major symptom. Okay, and all this is happening through your kidneys. Now, the kidneys is your most important organ. We discussed that a couple videos ago and why it's your most important organ. And so the other thing that the kidneys helps to regulate is your blood pressure. Okay, so people who have difficulties with their blood pressure, people who have elevated blood pressure, people who have been put on blood pressure medication, ask your doctor, well, how long am I going to be on this medication, doc? And they won't really have an answer for you, because at the end of the day, blood pressure medication is a symptom solution to high blood pressure, and high blood pressure is a very serious condition, certainly if left unchecked for too long, but it's also called the silent killer. It's called the silent killer because you won't have symptoms of high blood pressure. That's why it's the silent killer. So getting your blood pressure checked regularly and getting it checked fully, which means in 3 positions: seated, standing, and then laying down, so that you can see exactly what your blood pressure does when you go from seated to standing. Most people, when they go from seated to standing, they get lightheaded, they get a little woozy. Well, that's an indication that your adrenals, which helps to regulate blood pressure with the help of your kidneys, aren't responding fast enough. So you go from seated to standing, gravity pulls blood out of your head, and you end up becoming lightheaded until your system catches up with you. And if your system takes, I don't know, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, that's not very good as far as health goes. That's very good as far as survival goes. So we want to make sure that when you go from seated to standing, your blood pressure actually goes up 10 to 15 points. Okay? Why? Because you want to compensate for gravity pulling the blood out of your head, which is what would make you lightheaded. If your system's functioning normal and your adrenal glands respond to the change in position, then it's going to increase your blood pressure to maintain this normal amount of blood in your head, and then you're not going to get lightheaded. Now, when you go from standing to laying down, your blood pressure should go down. And again, this is a byproduct of your adrenals functioning properly and your kidneys functioning properly. And what helps to regulate that and make that work properly and better, that would be water. So when you get the right amount of water, that directly impacts what your blood pressure is doing and how your body responds to the change in position, which is a test to see how your body's actually managing stress. Stress is a byproduct of how the adrenal glands are functioning, and the adrenals sit on top of your kidneys. And since this is the month of kidney health, we want to talk a little bit about that and make sure that all that's working the way that it's supposed to. Now, the second thing that could mean if you're not getting enough water, besides being dehydrated, is, again, we just mentioned blood pressure, but the second thing that the body develops as a result of not getting enough water in the system is the body may develop inflammation as a result of that. Because the first thing that happens when your body doesn't have enough ingredients in an effort to make sure that everything runs smoothly, okay, things are going to run inefficiently. And when they run inefficiently, what ends up happening, if you're deficient in anything, the first thing that your body's going to do is it's going to develop a reaction to that. And the first reaction when your body doesn't have enough of the right ingredients is inflammation. Anybody that has any kind of excess inflammation, if you've let it gone so far that you're starting to develop kidney failure, and the Kidney Foundation seems to think that 65% of Americans are going to develop end-stage kidney disease at some point in their life, even though they're not doing anything to prevent it. But first thing that happens is when you start to develop kidney disease is that you start to swell, okay? Inflammation is swelling, okay? If you get cellular inflammation, okay, then you can get a thing called cellulitis, or you just get a little bit of swelling in the area, all right? But if it's chronic, okay, then you start to see that your socks or your pantyhose seems to leave a mark when you take your shoes and socks off, or your pantyhose off, or what have you. And you'll see a little line where your socks ended, and you might see that the feet below the sock are swollen. And this happens to a lot of people. That's an indication that your kidneys aren't working properly, and you're going to need to do something to support that. And it may also indicate that you have blood pressure imbalances, even though blood pressure elevated blood pressure doesn't give you any frank symptoms, so to speak. And so we want to appreciate the fact that, drinking enough water is very, very important. Making sure that your body has enough water and making sure that your body has the ability to excrete water is working the way that it's supposed to. Now, there's a simple test that you can do to determine if you are functionally dehydrated. It's not a hard test. It actually takes only a couple of seconds. And if you're not drinking enough water, you can do this anytime you want. And all you need to do is, normally your hands are down at your sides, okay? And they usually fill up with blood as a result, and your blood vessels typically become distended, so that when you look at your hands, you can actually see your blood vessels, okay? Now, the simple test is if you raise your arm up to shoulder height, and you take a look and your blood vessels disappear, and mine did a little bit. That's because I haven't drank much water recently. But, if your blood vessels totally disappear into your hands, as opposed to staying, that's better, as opposed to staying distended so that you can actually see your blood vessels, okay, that's an indication that you need to drink more water. Now, the other thing people will ask me is they'll say, Dr. Rick, I don't drink much water, but I do drink a lot of fluid. I drink coffee, I drink tea, I drink juices. God forbid, Dr. Rick, I drink soda. Please don't do that. Any of those liquids that you're drinking in place of water, your body actually has to lose water in an effort to digest the liquid out of whatever it is that you're drinking. So if you're drinking coffee, yeah, there's a lot of water in coffee. But your body actually has to metabolize the coffee, which causes you to lose water during the metabolic process. And so anything that's not water, whether it's coffee, whether it's tea, kombucha, fruit juice, alcohol is even more extreme in terms of causing people to be dehydrated. It's interesting. I've talked to a lot of people that used to go out when they were young and they would drink a lot, and they would drink a lot to the point that they were inebriated, and then they would go home, and they said the last thing that they would do before they would go to bed in an effort to prevent them from having a hangover is they would drink a big glass of water, sometimes as much as a quart of water, and they would take an aspirin, and they'd wake up the next day and they wouldn't have a hangover. Well, yeah, because drinking too much alcohol is going to dehydrate you. And if you dehydrate the blood vessels that go to your brain, because 80% of the water in your body goes towards the normal functioning of your brain, if you drink alcohol and you dehydrate yourself and you dehydrate your brain, then you're going to get the hangover experience. And so, yeah, drinking some extra water before you go to bed. These people would take an aspirin or maybe a Tylenol or something like that, and they say they wake up without a hangover. Now, I'm not condoning you going out and drinking to the point where you are going to have a hangover the next day. Hell, I haven't had any alcoholic drinks 36 years. 36 years since I've had alcohol, with the exception of a tiny little sip to celebrate my marriage, and that was 7 years ago. So yeah, so at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're drinking enough water. You want to make sure that you're not walking around functionally dehydrated, and you want to do the little test where you raise your arm up to see if your blood vessels disappear. So that's it for this week's show. I truly appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate any feedback. Please give me feedback at docrick@spineboy.com. That's DOCRICK@spineboy.com. It's my pleasure to answer your questions. If this video has been beneficial to you, I'd appreciate hearing back from you. My hope is at some point we can move away from the video classes, although there's a part of me that says this is fun, this is enjoyable. I get an opportunity to say what I need to say, and those who are interested get to watch it. My hope is that you can refer this video to some of your family and friends. If you love your family and friends and you'd like to grow old gracefully with them still in your life, then ask them to tune in. Ask them to sign up for the free e-newsletter alerts. And I look forward to speaking with you again next week. Next week's class, Not sure what next week's class is about, but tune back in next week, same health time, same health station. Again, thank you very much for tuning in, and I look forward to speaking with you again next week when your health matters.